Billionaire returns home at 3 a.m. The shocking truth a black maid reveals will haunt you forever. The clock struck 3 as the luxurious black SUV glided silently into the grand driveway of the Wren estate. A chilling wind whispered through the hollow trees that lined the sprawling property, flickering the soft lighting that cast eerie shadows on the manicured lawn. Reginald Wren, a billionaire whose name echoed in high society, stepped out into the darkness, his Armani suit stark against the muted tones of the night. Eyes darting, he seemed tense and worried, every step a battle against his own thoughts. What secrets did he carry? But little did he know, Mariah, the housekeeper, was already waiting inside. A flicker of worry crossed her face as she glanced at her watch, her senses were hyper-alert. She heard whispers of strange occurrences in the Wren mansion, flickering lights, the faint sound of crying echoing through the empty halls in the dead of night, and an unusual chill that lingered in the air. Each story felt like a knife twisting in her gut. What if something sinister awaited Reginald's return? Mariah was no stranger to fear. As she dusted the grand chandelier that hung like a ghost in the vast dining hall, she sensed an unseen presence. She could feel the hairs on her arms rising as a chill swept over the room, filling her with dread. What was it about this night that felt so different? Was it the woman in the mirror that never seemed to smile back? Or perhaps the distant echoes of laughter that faded as if warning her to stay away? The air thickened with anticipation, and as Reginald entered, she caught a glimpse of his haunted expression. His usually confident stride faltered. Mariah's heart raced. Was he hiding something? As he approached, the sensation of something lurking behind him sent a jolt through her. Her gut twisted at the thought. Did he think he could keep secrets from her? Suddenly, the distant sound of shattering glass shattered the tension. Mariah jumped, her heart pounding wildly against her chest. She rushed toward the source, Reginald hot on her heels. They both knew they were not alone. The mansion held its breath. Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As they stepped into the shattered room, Reginald's hands trembled, revealing more than he intended. Broken glass glimmered ominously on the floor, but it was what lay further inside that paralyzed them with fear. A figure slumped in the corner, cloaked in darkness. Mariah's breath caught in her throat. She couldn't see the face yet, but she felt the weight of a gaze focused intently on them. The tension crackled in the air like a thunderstorm approaching. As Mariah clutched the doorframe, a single thought raced through her mind. What was this figure doing in Reginald's mansion? What was he hiding? Was it a friend, or something far more sinister? Only time would reveal the truth, but one thing was clear: the secrets of the Wren mansion had already begun to unravel. Mariah's heart thundered in her chest, each beat echoing through the silence. Reginald remained still beside her, his breath hitching slightly as the figure slowly began to lift its head. The shadows peeled back like a curtain, revealing a nightmare. A face, pale and twisted with pain, eyes hollow and dark, stared back at them. The air shifted, charged with something primal and raw. "Who are you?" Reginald's voice was hoarse, trembling as it sliced through the electric tension in the room. Mariah could feel the heat radiating from his body. It was a heat that betrayed fear rather than strength. The figure stirred, slowly revealing a shapeless form cloaked in a tattered black garment. As it rose, the remnants of elegance became apparent. A woman, once adorned in lavish attire, now faded and threadbare. A jolt of recognition hit Mariah like a punch to the gut. She had seen this woman before, in the framed photos lining the grand hallway. Reginald's aunt, the disgraced socialite who had vanished years ago under scandalous circumstances, a ghost from the past. "Help me!" The words came out as a raspy whisper, barely audible, yet it carried the weight of desperation. Mariah took a step back, an instinctive reaction driven by instinct. Reginald, however, remained frozen, confusion locking his features. "Why are you here?" he asked, his tone edged with a mix of anger and disbelief. "Because." The woman paused, her breath hitching as if each word demanded more energy than she had. "Because I need to tell you the truth before it's too late." Mariah could feel the room suffocating, pulsating with impending doom. Was this truth she sought going to expose Reginald? Or worse, was she here to warn him of something darker lurking in the corridors of their lives? What truth? Reginald pressed, eyes narrowing as he edged closer. The glimmer of hope in his voice was shattered by the fear clinging to every syllable. "No time he's coming." The woman's eyes darted around the room as though something unseen darted in the shadows. It was the look of a hunted animal, desperate and cornered. "You must listen. They are not who you think they are." Mariah shivered, glancing at Reginald. His face had drained of color. The handsome billionaire, usually so composed and self-assured, looked lost at that moment, like a child staring into a darkened abyss where the monsters thrived. As the woman instinctively reached toward Reginald, the lights flickered violently, plunging them into darkness for a heartbeat. When the glow returned, the figure was gone. What just happened? Mariah gasped, trying to rein in the chaos swirling within her. She swallowed hard, eyeing Reginald's ashen face. "Did you see that?" Reginald ran a trembling hand through his hair, clearly struggling to process what just occurred. "This is impossible. We need to find her." Without thinking, Mariah's instincts kicked in, a mix of fear and determination. But what if she's leading us into danger? What if this is all part of it? "Mariah," he spoke sharply, urgency bleeding into his voice. "Do you have any idea what this means? If there's a chance, if she has something to say, we can't just let this go." As they stepped further into the room, the shadows loomed, thickening with every tentative movement. But something was different now. They weren't the only ones moving. A low rumble echoed through the walls, vibrations reverberating beneath their feet. "What is that?" Mariah's eyes widened. Reginald remained silent, scanning the room with a dawning realization that something far more sinister was indeed lurking in the depths of the Wren mansion. The ground trembled subtly beneath them, and just as the realization set in, a door swung open at the far end of the room, revealing nothing but an inky darkness that beckoned them forward. "What's behind that door?" Mariah breathed, her heart racing again. But she could see the fear etched on Reginald's face. Something was coming, and he could feel it just as she did. Before they could move toward the unknown, a low growl emanated from the depths of the mansion, sending a visceral shiver of dread down their spines. "Reginald, we have to leave now," Mariah urged, fear overriding her instincts to investigate. But Reginald stood firm, his expression resolved. He looked back at the door and then at Mariah. "No. This isn't over. We have to face it." As they took a hesitant step toward the darkened doorway, a piercing scream echoed throughout the mansion, filling their hearts with icy dread. Who or what awaited them on the other side? And was there truly a way to escape whatever horror was awakening in the shadows? Mariah's heart raced wildly, drowning out the unsettling growl that laced through the walls. Each echoing beat of her pulse screamed at her to turn and run, to flee the dark depths of the Wren mansion before something sinister caught up with them. But there was Reginald, a mix of determination and dread coursing through him, and she couldn't abandon him. "Not now." "Reginald," she whispered, fear choking her voice. "We can't do this." "We have to," he replied, his breath steady but his eyes betraying the turbulence inside. He took a step forward, and against her instincts, Mariah found herself following. The shadows around them deepened, pulling tighter, as if trying to snatch them back from the threshold of the unknown. With a deep breath, Reginald gripped the edge of the doorframe. "Whatever this is, whatever is hidden in there, I need to face it. I owe it to my family." As they stepped through the doorway, the air shifted, becoming colder, the kind of cold that seeped into bones. They were enveloped by darkness, cut off from any light, save for the faint glow of the distant moon filtering through cracked windows. The smell of damp earth and decay clawed at Mariah's throat, tightening it with every breath. "Stay close," Reginald murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. They moved cautiously, marred shapes rising ominously around them, thrown into relief by the slivers of pale light. Their senses heightened, feet shuffling against the dust-laden floor, they could almost hear the whispers of the past echoing in the corners of the room. Then, a flicker of movement at the far side caught Reginald's eye. "Did you see that?" he asked sharply, his heart now racing not just with dread but a sense of urgency. "See what?" Mariah stepped closer, peering into the inkiness. "What do you mean?" "Over there." He pointed. But when Mariah turned her gaze, nothing stirred. Just shadows dancing languidly across the walls, pulse racing between fear and anticipation. "Reginald, we're alone," she murmured. Panic clawed at her chest, urging her to retreat. And then it hit them, a screech of splintering wood echoed deep within the mansion. A door slamming shut somewhere far behind them. The spark of terror ignited. "Maybe we should go back," Mariah stammered, her breath hitching. "No. We're already in too deep." Determined, Reginald pressed on. A tangible connection pulled them forward, whispering secrets of the past that wouldn't remain silenced any longer. Just as they entered a larger room, the shadows seemed to coalesce into a swirling mass. And from the depths of darkness, a whisper curled its way into their ears, a low sibilant hiss. "You shouldn't have come." Reginald froze, his muscles tense. The air thickened with an unnerving energy that was palpable. Mariah's heart raced as she felt the hairs on her arms stand. "Who's there?" Reginald demanded, a shaky bravado masking his growing fear, but the response was silent, a figure emerging from the shadows, ethereal and ghostly. It was a man, his features indistinguishable, but there was an unmistakable wickedness in his presence. "Your family," he hissed, "they've been keeping secrets." Every instinct in Mariah screamed to bolt, but Reginald held her back, nails digging into her arm as he faced the looming figure. The man stepped forward, and Reginald's breath caught. "Why are you here?" Reginald asked, now vulnerable, shifting from a pillar of strength to sheer disbelief. The figure leaned in, breath chilling the air. "To reveal the truth that brings ruin." Something shifted behind Reginald, another presence, darker, lurking just out of sight. Mariah's body became frozen. They couldn't turn back now. "What truth?" Reginald demanded, voice shaking, confronting both terror and impending revelation. The weight of centuries settled on them, leaving only the echo of unanswered questions that hung in the thick silence of the mansion. And in that moment, the lights blinked out again, plunging them into a suffocating void. "Reginald!" Mariah screamed into the darkness, her voice swallowed whole by the space surrounding them, straining against the marrow, deep dread curling around her heart. What horrors awaited them within the grasp of the shadows? And would the truth prove to be a poison they couldn't escape? The world collapsed around them in an oppressive silence, the darkness thick enough to suffocate. Mariah's hands shook as she searched for Reginald, her heart hammering against her ribcage. "Reginald, where are you?" No answer came, just the echo of her own voice clinging to the walls like a desperate plea. Frantic, she strained to decipher the faintest glow that might guide her. Her fingers brushed against the coarse texture of the stone wall, feeling its icy chill seep into her skin. She called out again, her fear unfurling like a dark flower within her chest. "Reginald!" Just as panic threatened to claim her, a harsh breath grazed her ear. "I'm here," came Reginald's voice, low and guttural. Relief flooded through her, yet the dread in his tone sent chills down her spine. "Stay close to me." They fumbled blindly forward, navigating the room until they stumbled into a narrow corridor, broken only by the faint shimmer of moonlight spilling through a cracked window. Shadowy figures seemed to slide past the periphery of their vision, yet every time they turned, nothing was there. The feeling of being watched tightened around them, suffocating and malevolent. "Do you feel that?" Mariah whispered, her voice quaking. Reginald nodded, his jaw clenched tight. "Like we're not alone." A sudden crash sounded behind them, resonating off the stone walls, and both jumped, hearts lurching in unison. What was that? She gasped, the terror clawing at her throat. We need to keep moving. He gripped her wrist tighter and pressed forward. As they trudged through the twisting hallways littered with forgotten relics, a piercing wail echoed through the air, sending shivers down Mariah's spine. It was a sound laced with anguish that morphed into a guttural laugh, a blend of sorrow and mockery that wrapped around their minds. Reginald, we don't say it, he snapped, the fear radiating off him palpable. Whatever's here, it's trying to scare us. The corridor opened into a grand hall, the moon casting a silver glow over marble floors that were too beautiful for the nightmare unfolding around them. The air danced, thick with the weight of secrets, an avalanche of despair buried deep within the walls. In the center of the hall stood an ornate mirror, its surface rippling in dark, reflecting twisted images of their own terrified faces. What is this? Mariah breathed, stepping closer. Reginald clutched her arm, a firm anchor against the tempest of curiosity and fear. We shouldn't tea, but the mirror beckoned, summoning something deeply buried within their souls. As she gazed into it, a visage began to form, a woman's face, pale and filled with loss, her expression a mix of longing and wrath. You seek the truth, the woman's whisper echoed, but it comes with a price. What do you mean? Mariah's heart thundered in her ears, each beat a countdown to dread. Family holds ties that bind and secrets that shatter. This place is a prison, and you are its guests. The mirror rippled violently, and the woman's face twisted in agony. Flee while you can, or become one of us. Without thinking, Reginald pulled Mariah back, breaking their focus from the spectral image. Her pulse pounded in her ears, and she turned to him, eyes wide. Reginald, what does that mean? Before he could respond, the room darkened again, the shadows crashing into one another as if alive. And with that, a cold, chilling voice slithered through the air. Your fate is sealed. Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled, the vibration like thunder rolling through the mansion. Reginald's eyes were wild, frantic. We need to go. Now. But the corridor they had just entered was gone, swallowed by the churning shadows. Panic erupted in Mariah. We can't be trapped here. Hold on. Reginald yelled, pulling her toward the mirror, but the mirror glowed with an ominous light, and the air thickened. One step forward, and they could be consumed. The woman's face appeared again, her eyes pleading but full of despair. With a shattering crash, it dawned on Mariah that whatever lay in store was no longer a confrontation with the past. Reginald, we're not just facing ghosts. We are the next chapter of this place's history. As the mirror's reflection warped, ready to pull them into the abyss, she gasped, what will we discover if we jump? Only one way to find out. And as the shadows rushed toward them, they realized fate was forcing their hands. Would they make it through, or would they join the mournful echo of secrets forever bound to the Wren mansion? Mariah's mind raced. Suddenly, something began to surface, an unsettling truth she could feel on the tip of her tongue, waiting to be unleashed. What horror awaited them in that mirror? A deafening silence enveloped them as they stood before the mirror, the ominous glow pulsating like a heartbeat. Mariah's breath caught in her throat, every instinct screaming for her to turn and flee. Reginald, I feel it. It's like the air thickens. Reginald's grip tightened around her wrist as he edged closer to the strange glass. We can't back down now. We need to face whatever this is. His voice was steady, he was trying to convince himself just as much as her. The woman's visage twisted and morphed, her mouth moving soundlessly. Suddenly, a burst of frenetic energy surged from the mirror, yanking them both forward. Mariah stumbled, her heart racing as a flood of memories crashed over her, a kaleidoscope of images that weren't hers. She saw a room, echoing laughter, a birthday celebration, but the faces were unfamiliar. The gleeful shouts twisted into screams, the joy turning to chaos. Reginald! She gasped, her eyes wide with horror. The memories, they're not ours. I know. He shouted back, his voice strangled. But it's somehow connected. We need to. The mirror's surface rippled violently again, and in a heartbeat, the cheerful scene faded into darkness. The shadows coalesced, forming ghastly shapes, eyes gleaming with malice. You've come to reclaim what's lost. A chorus of voices echoed from the depths of the glass, chilling Mariah to her core. Panic surged as shadows darted around them, their cold fingers grazing her skin. What do they want? She cried, struggling to break free from Reginald's grasp. Something we can't give. His eyes darted around, searching for an escape route. We have to break the hold this place has on us. With determination, they pressed closer to the mirror, hoping to understand. The woman's face reappeared, etched with desperate urgency. Find the truth buried within these walls or become lost in the darkness forever. The vision shifted once more, this time to the mansion's upper floors, where a child wept, unseen hands clutching something tightly. Mariah felt a pit form in her stomach. It's about the child. Someone is suffering. Mariah, we don't have time for this. Reginald's fierce voice jolted her back. We need to jump now. We can't let this place trick us into. Do you hear that? The pleading cry of a child echoed through the hall, reverberating off the walls. It was raw and gut-wrenching, a call for help that sliced through the darkness. A visceral response surged within her. We can't abandon them. Mariah insisted, her heart pounding with the weight of decision. We have to save whoever that is. Are you insane? We could die. Reginald's eyes flared with fear. She locked eyes with him, determination carving lines of resolve across her features. But we can't leave a child in this nightmare, Reginald. Face the truth. Time flickered and spun, and beneath their feet, the ground shook violently. The shadows coiled tighter, pulsating with a fierceness that threatened to engulf them. Your choice will seal your fate, hissed the voice trailing out from the mirror. With a final burst of courage, Mariah hurled herself toward the mirror. If we're going down fighting. She shouted, her voice laced with defiance. Reginald hesitated for a split second, then plunged in after her, their bodies colliding with the endless void that waited beyond the surface. As they crossed the barrier, blinding light exploded around them. Whispers of the lost clawed at their sanity, images flickering, scenes of family, joy, betrayal, and loss. They fell through memories unstable and wild, spiraling deeper into the mystery that both terrified and called to them. They landed hard on the cold wooden floor of the mansion's upper hallway. Gasping, Mariah struggled to catch her breath, fear and resolve painting her features. Reginald was there, hands bracing him on his knees. Where are we? He panted, eyes scanning their surroundings. In the dim light, they saw remnants of a grim reality, ghostly remnants stretched in shadows, the air heavy with sorrow. Then, the curl of echoes grew loud, and that haunting child's wail rang again. This time clearer. It's coming from the door, Mariah breathed, pointing to a cracked door at the end of the hall, barely ajar. Do you want to open it? Reginald asked, his voice quivering. She nodded, fear now buzzed with a sense of purpose. Whatever awaited them would unravel the truth woven deep into the fabric of Wren Mansion. As they approached the door, a shiver ran down her spine. The child's cries grew more desperate, thick with despair. Without hesitation, Mariah reached for the handle. What would they find on the other side? Would it be salvation or doom? She drew in a breath, steeling herself. And as the door creaked open, their hearts raced, fear mingling with the echoing cries of a past waiting to be released. As the door swung ajar, a bitter chill swept through the hallway, wrapping around Mariah and Reginald like invisible chains. The cries of the child twisted into a cacophony of longing and despair, each note striking at their hearts with relentless force. Hesitant but resolute, Mariah stepped forward, pulling the door open wider. Inside, the dimly lit room blurred into focus. It was a child's bedroom, faded wallpaper crowned with cartoon figures, a small bed draped in tattered blankets, and the source of the cries lay at the center. A small figure, shadowed and hunched, knelt on the floor, desperately clutching a torn stuffed animal. The child turned, revealing tear-streaked cheeks and wide, terrified eyes. Help me! The child gasped, voice quaking like fragile glass. I can't find them, they need me. The desperation in the child's voice echoed in Mariah's mind. Locking her feet to the floor, Reginald surged forward, but Mariah pulled him back, her heart racing. Wait, she whispered, glancing around. Shadows lashed against the walls, lurking just beyond the familiar safety of the child's simple room. This place, it could be a trap. He nodded but kept his gaze fixed on the child. Whatever's going on, we can't leave them here. Look at the fear in their eyes. Reginald's voice cracked with emotion. He fought against reason, swayed by compassion. But we need to understand what we're dealing with. Mariah shot back, her voice tense. What if, please? The child interrupted, voice trembling. I'll do anything, just help. The plea knocked the wind from Mariah's lungs. It was raw and genuine, a call that twisted deeply within her soul. Feeling a magnetic pull, she took a tentative step closer. What do you need us to do? She asked, her voice softening. I can't find them. They're trapped in the dark and scared, the child whimpered, clutching the worn-out toy tighter to their chest. If you help me, we can get out of here. Mariah glanced at Reginald, whose expression mirrored her internal struggle. They had come here seeking answers, but the longing in the child's plea felt like a lifeline, a chance for salvation. Reginald's voice was low, shaky. What if we're making a mistake? But her instincts took over. We have to try. If there's a chance, we can't let this child suffer more. She felt a swell of determination pulsing through her veins. She reached out, kneeling at the child's side. What do we need to do? The child looked up, eyes shimmering with hope. We need to find the lost things, the memories in the dark. A sudden chill coursed through the air, a whisper of danger rustling through the room. The walls pulsed, shadows dancing closer, hungry and relentless. Mariah felt the weight of their specters pressing down on her, and the hairs on the back of her neck stood on end. Reginald! She cried, slipping her hand into his. Suddenly, a deafening crash shattered the fragile moment, followed by disembodied laughter that echoed like a storm, taunting, sinister. The temperature dropped drastically, and Mariah shivered, fear clawing like ice in her chest. The child whimpered, eyes wide with terror. They're angry. You have to hurry. Do what? Reginald shouted, his face pale. Find the truth. With desperation filling the child's voice, the shadows seemed to flicker, encroaching from the corners of the room. Despair traced the lines of the child's face, and Mariah felt the need to act, to protect this lost soul before the darkness consumed them all. Help us help you. She pleaded, gripping the child's small shoulder. Where do we go? In response, the child pointed to a shadowy nook behind the bed where the darkness rippled like a living entity. There. The memories are there, but be careful, it's not safe. The shadows screamed in protest, the air vibrating with a palpable threat. Mariah and Reginald exchanged a hurried glance, an unspoken agreement passing between them. They had to do this together or risk losing everything, each other and the child who had been caught in this overwhelming darkness. On three, Reginald breathed, steeling himself next to Mariah. 1, 2. Before they could say 3, the shadows lunged, claws of darkness grasping for their ankles as they plunged into the very heart of what had been lost. Would they uncover the truth hidden in those memories, or would they fall victim to the chaos that awaited? The moment of reckoning had arrived, and the price of uncovering haunted truths could be more than they ever imagined. The darkness enveloped them, a thick, suffocating fog that seemed intent on pulling Mariah and Reginald into an inescapable abyss. They stumbled forward, feet unsteady against the biting chill that seeped through their skin. The child's frightened whispers and the echoing laughter faded, leaving behind only a gnawing silence that felt like a foreboding omen. Are you okay? Mariah asked, her breath hitching as she turned to Reginald. His face was pale, eyes wide, reflecting the terror that loomed just beyond their sight. I think so. He clenched his hands into fists, as if by sheer will he could fend off the encroaching shadows. But we need to move. Together, they pushed forward, each step an act of defiance against the oppressive darkness. The air crackled with energy, an electrifying anticipation tinged with dread. Peripheral shadows twisted ominously, curling in and out of their vision, taunting them with flickers of despair. Where were those memories? Reginald's voice barely broke the silence, wavering with uncertainty. Do we just grab them? Mariah could feel the weight of time pressing down on them, the child's urgency still echoing in her heart. The child said they're lost, maybe we need to. Before she could finish, a voice like shattered glass pierced the darkness. You shouldn't have come here, you'll regret it. A figure emerged from the shadows, tall and cloaked in darkness, a visage distorted and terrifying. It moved with a disjointed grace, each step echoing with finality. Mariah's heart raced, pounding like a war drum against her chest. Who are you? Reginald shouted, desperation edging his tone. What do you want from us? Nothing. The figure leaned closer, and Mariah could feel its cold breath against her skin, an ice-cold draft that sent chills spiraling through her body. But you want something. You want to save the child. But at what cost? The shadows around them began to twist and shape, morphing into grotesque forms that reached out with spindly fingers, clawing for their skin. Run! Mariah screamed, grabbing Reginald's hand, tugging him toward the nook the child had pointed to. The weight of the darkness pressed on her back, urging her to turn. But she couldn't. She had to keep moving, fumbling. They stumbled through the shadowed murk, merged fears fueling their will to escape the oncoming nightmare. Then, just as they reached the corner, the ground beneath them trembled. The walls reverberated with a deep, guttural voice. Foolish mortals! You cannot just take what was lost. Face the truth that you both hide. The ground split open in a cascade of iridescent lights and shadows, a swirling mass of memories and guilt swirling around them. Mariah felt an almost physical pull toward it, as if the shadows were inviting her in, promising answers but threatening to swallow her whole. Mariah! It's too risky. Reginald's voice broke through her haze of determination. She knew he was right, but the need to save the child felt more crucial than the fear pounding in her chest. What if we can find the child's memories in there? She queried, fear battling with hope. What if that's the key? Or it's a death trap? We can't afford to take that chance. Reginald shouted back, his eyes frantic as shadows clawed closer, whispering promises of oblivion. The child's face flickered in her mind, haunting yet pleading. Those eyes, the desperation. We have to, Reginald. We have to find out. He hesitated, a war raging in his expression. But what if we lose everything? That question hung in the air like a noose. Suddenly, a cacophony of anguished cries erupted from within the swirling shadows, echoing the child's pleas. With each scream, Mariah felt something inside her twist. The realization hit her like a punch. A dark truth bubbled to the surface. Reginald, what if all of this is a reflection of us? She whispered, horror dawning at the implications. Another crash resounded, and they were thrust deeper into the maw of darkness as a blinding light burst forth from the heart of the swirling shadows, beckoning them with a blinding glare. Step into the light and face your truth. The looming figure intoned, its voice a twisted lullaby, each word seeping into their skin like poison. They had to choose. Leap towards the uncertain light or drown in the suffocating dark that threatened to consume everything they loved. Mariah! Reginald's voice called out desperately, pulling her back from the brink. We need to make a decision. Now. The weight of their choice loomed ominously, a tether pulling them into a black void of unknown terror. What awaited them on the other side? Was it salvation or ruin? The clock was ticking as they stared into the abyss. What truth would emerge from the shadows? And would they have the courage to face it head-on? The answer lingered, heavy in the air, as they stood on the precipice of revelation, hearts racing, awaiting a reckoning. The light pulsed, bright and inviting, yet edged with danger. Mariah could feel heat radiate from it, almost tangible. In that moment, all logic fell away. With her heart pounding in her throat, she squeezed Reginald's hand tighter. "We have to trust it," she said, her voice barely rising above the chaos around them. Reginald opened his mouth to protest, but the shadows surged, shrieking as if they were alive, hungry for their very souls. They twisted, blocking their path to safety while laughter echoed through the air. It felt maddening, like a cruel joke played by unseen forces. "Fine!" he yelled, and without another word, they leapt toward the light. The world around them ignited, swirling colors engulfing them, spinning and pulling in every direction. As they hurtled forward, an explosion of memories cascaded around them. Fractured images of laughter, tears, and haunting regrets formed a whirlwind of emotions. Faces from the past flashed in and out, a small boy with bright eyes and a sunny smile, an older man shaking his head in disappointment, a dark-haired woman whose gaze seemed to pierce right through Mariah's very soul. The noise was overwhelming, a cacophony of voices rising and falling, and Mariah could barely focus. "What is happening?" she shouted to Reginald over the din, panic creeping into her voice. "I don't know," he shouted back, fear twisting his features. "But it feels like we're unraveling." Suddenly, they landed with a thud, tumbling onto a cold, hard surface. Dust and fragments of memories drifted around them like pale specters. Mariah gasped, picking herself off the ground, her eyes darting to her left where a figure emerged, shimmering and translucent, shimmering like a flame wavering in the night. "Welcome," it said, voice melodic yet grave. It was a young girl, the same face Mariah had seen among the swirling memories, the child they had to save. Her eyes held a blend of sadness and wisdom that felt beyond her years. "Are you?" Mariah began, disbelief curling her words. "Yes," the girl interrupted softly. "I'm trapped here, like shadows in the dark." She looked around, her face trembling. "But you can help me find the memories that hold the truth." Reginald stepped forward, a mix of anger and frustration boiling in his chest. "But how? We don't even know what we're looking for." His fists were clenched tightly, muscles coiled with tension. The girl cocked her head, innocent yet filled with an unsettling understanding. "You need to confront what you've hidden, what you've each lost. The truth is hard to bear." Mariah felt the breath leave her lungs. This wasn't just about the child. This was about them, their own truths, their secrets buried beneath anger and blame. The darkness teetered at the edges of her mind, asking questions she wasn't ready to answer. "Are you going to do it?" Reginald asked, voice low, barely masking a tremor. "Face it? All of it?" "I don't know," Mariah said, trembling as she looked into the girl's trusting eyes. "What if the truth is more than we can handle? Or what if it sets us free?" The girl countered, as if pulling Mariah deeper into her own thoughts. Before they could respond, shadows closed in, wrapping around them, twisting tightly like a vice. Mariah's chest constricted as darkness whispered their hidden fears and sorrows, each word sharp enough to slice through bone. "Remember your fears," the girl's voice rang clear. "Only then can we retrieve what is lost." "Let us go," Reginald said, determination igniting in his gaze, even as the shadows clung stubbornly. With one last look at the girl, Mariah nodded, grasping his hand again. "Together." And they braced themselves, diving headfirst into the mass of swirling shadows, prepared to unearth the hidden truths buried within their souls. But as they plunged deeper, a horrifying realization tugged at Mariah's mind. The truth they faced could split them apart forever. Would they find salvation or doom in the darkness? The answer loomed, an ominous shadow ready to challenge everything they believed about themselves and the world around them. The darkness enveloped them, a heavy cloak that pressed against their skin, squeezing the air from Mariah's lungs. Each breath became a struggle, and she felt as if they were drowning. The laughter transformed into a guttural growl, echoing their fears back to them. It was a murmur, a soft chant layering over each other, taunting, probing. "Reginald!" she gasped, her voice barely a whisper. The shadows seemed to curl around them, eagerly awaiting their next move. They were trapped in a void that felt alive, a twisting prison that thrummed with energy. "We need to push through," Reginald replied, determination lighting his eyes. "We can't lose hope." Despite his words, Mariah could see the uncertainty flickering within him. "Hope? You think hope matters here?" she snapped. "What if this pulls us apart? What if we face things we aren't ready to face?" The panic clawed at her throat. "We won't let that happen," Reginald said with a fierce intensity. But was he convincing her or himself? The truth lurked in the shadows, an invisible predator ready to strike. The girl's voice cut through, clear and strong amidst the chaos. "You must confront what you fear. It's the only way to set yourself free." Mariah tried to focus, to block out the noise that threatened to consume her. "What do we confront?" she yelled, straining against the cold tendrils curling around her legs. Reginald's grip on her hand was firm but shaking, radiating anxiety. "The losses," the girl replied, each word echoing with a weight that felt insurmountable. "The ones you think you can't bear. Each truth has a memory attached, and only by facing it can you retrieve the light." A surge of images assaulted Mariah's mind. The boy from earlier, a shadow of herself at 16, sitting in a darkened room, tears streaking her face when her mother screamed at her, the disappointment ringing in her ears like a funeral bell. She recoiled, a physical wave of shame washing over her. "Reginald, I can't," she breathed, desperation clawing at her insides. "I don't want to remember." "Remembering won't kill you," he replied, his voice steadier than she felt. "Running away might." The shadows twisted tighter, threatening to pull them apart if they faltered. A distant, hollow laugh echoed, a reminder of a decision once made that led to heartbreak. Suddenly, the girl stepped forward, her face glowing softly among the chaos. "Look at me, Mariah. Look into your heart. Find the truth buried deep, the thing you fear the most." As Mariah locked eyes with the girl, something shifted. A comfort bloomed in her chest like a flower breaking through concrete. She could feel the girl's essence sparkling with possibility and illumination piercing through the despair. "Are you ready?" Reginald asked, his voice a raw whisper. "No," she admitted. "But, maybe it doesn't matter." They steadied themselves, facing the encroaching shadows. As one voice began to rise above the others, a churning swirl of chaos responded to their resolve. Push through the pain, they dared, breaths mingling with the swirling mass. "Remember the truth, face it together." Reginald moved closer. "Whatever happens, it's us. Always." With renewed determination, they stepped deeper into the shadows. They surrendered to what lay ahead, unsure if they would emerge united or severed. But as they sank into the darkness, the terrifying truth loomed larger, a gnawing question echoed through their minds. What was the memory that could break them apart forever? And somewhere within the suffocating dark, a flicker of light began to pulse. The air crackled with tension as Mariah and Reginald plunged deeper into the suffocating darkness, surrounded by shadows that whispered and howled like tormented souls. With each step, they felt weightless and heavy all at once, a paradox that made their hearts race. "Remember," the girl's voice rang out again, sweet yet haunting, "you must confront your greatest fears." Mariah stumbled over a threshold of emotional pain. Ghostly images of herself muddled with Reginald's memories filled her mind. Their greatest losses swirled like autumn leaves caught in a storm. Squeezing her eyes shut, she focused on Reginald's steady grip. "Whatever happens, we face it together," she affirmed, pushing against the cold aura squeezing her throat. She could feel the burning weight of dread, yet at the core danced a flickering light hope. Reginald took a deep breath. "I see it," he whispered, clearing the fog of terror momentarily cast over his features. "I see my family, my father." His voice cracked, eyes wide with a mix of regret and realization. Shadows contorted around him, his memories thrumming to life, images rolled like a film, him as a boy alone in a lavish room, his father standing dimly in the corner, cold and indifferent. Reginald's fists clenched. "He never believed in me, never even knew me." Maria felt a pang in her own heart. Reginald, you can break free from that. He doesn't define you. In that moment, the shadows swelled as if responding to her words. The figure of the young girl stepped out, her tiny frame glowing soft against the looming dark. You have to break the cycle, Reginald. Do it for yourself. The growling shadows pushed closer, engulfing Reginald's mind in anguish. I'm scared. What if I unleash something I can't control? Face it, Reginald. Embrace the pain, and let it guide you. Maria shouted, her heart pounding. With newfound bravery, Reginald pressed forward. The void shimmered, and an image materialized, his father's disappointed gaze morphing into the face of a boy, brilliant with promise. The boy's smile shattered the oppressive weight as sunlight spilled into the shadows. I see you. He shouted, voice reverberating against the darkness. The child inside me who just wanted to be loved. The shadows slithered, screeching as they began to dissolve, swallowed by the light emanating from Reginald's realization. Maria felt her chest swell with pride. She locked eyes with the girl. Now, it's my turn. As the shadows writhed, desperate to amend the darkness closing in on her thoughts, Maria reconnected with her past. Images bloomed the room, echoes of tears, her mother's sharp criticism still ringing in her ears. You'll never amount to anything. The words sliced deeper than any blade. Maria craved the comfort she never received, her spirit weighed down by unmet expectations. Face it. Own it. Reginald's voice pierced through her haze, grounding her as she fought against the tide of despair. Stop. She yelled at the darkness, threatening to suffocate her identity. I will not carry this alone. I have worth beyond what you say. As the shadows hissed, the girl stepped beside her. Together, Maria. You can reclaim your truths. The shadows recoiled as Maria's tears surged forward, breaking the dam holding her anguish captive. I want to keep hiding. Suddenly, brilliant light exploded through the void, encasing both Maria and Reginald in a cocoon of warmth. As they stood back to back, the darkness shrieked in dismay, battling against the illumination fueled by their courage. With one daring leap, they surged toward the blaze, heartbeats synchronized, sealing their newfound clarity and strength. Let us do this. They shouted in unison, surrendering to the light, and with a deafening rush, they plunged into the blinding glow, hearts racing as the memory of the child filled their minds with warmth and hope. In an instant, the shadows evaporated, revealing the child standing in a soft, rose-gold hue, their eyes now filled with joy. You did it. You faced what was lost and freed us all. Reginald knelt, awestruck. We saved you. The child's laughter rang like chimes, echoing through the cavernous hall. You uncovered the truth, embraced your pain, and together, you broke the cycle. You'll never be lost again. As the darkness dissipated, sunlight poured in through fractured windows, illuminating the room in a radiant glow. Maria and Reginald stood, hand in hand, facing the might of their past, the fear, the hurt, the shame, but now it no longer loomed large. It felt much smaller, manageable, shared. Tears slid down Reginald's cheek as he glanced at Maria. We did it. We did, Maria whispered, a smile blooming on her face. No more secrets. No more shadows. The mansion around them quivered with what felt like relief. It was as if centuries of sorrow were being lifted, the ghosts released into the sky, free of their burdens. As they stepped out into the light, hand in hand, the Wren mansion transformed behind them, a structure once housing fear and pain now bathed in warmth and renewal. With every stride, they felt lighter, unshackled from their pasts. The girl waved at them. You succeeded. Remember to keep the truth alive with love. Reginald turned back, eyes brightening with hope. We will. He called, feeling the weight of his family's shadows finally lifting. As they walked away from the mansion, hand in hand, hearts thumping with warmth and laughter, they knew there was still much to be done, but they would face it together. The journey of healing wouldn't end here, but with every step, they kindled a fire inside, a light fueled by courage that would shine brightly, illuminating their path forevermore. Now this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and flood the comments section with your reactions, thoughts, and wild theories about this incredible ending. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who absolutely need to see this conclusion. Your engagement makes all the difference. Let us keep this journey going together.